What is up, guys? Welcome back to Think Shank. We are jumping in, of course, following game one of the NBA Finals, OKC and the Indiana Pacers. There is approximately a million things I need to get to. As always, thank you so much for watching. It really means the world. Oklahoma City comes into the series as minus 700 favorites to win the series and minus 450 favorites to win game one. Have control of approximately 90 to 98% of this entire game. Even claim the biggest lead of the game at 15 points with just under 10 minutes to go in the fourth. As we have seen about 3 times now in the postseason, the Pacers refuse to quit. They stay committed to their identity, and they are absolutely rabidly relentless, culminating in Tyrese Haliburton hitting that go-ahead shot with 0.3 seconds left to claim their only and first lead of the game on the road against a 68-win team that was favored to that extent. Fourth go-ahead shot for Haliburton with less than 5 seconds to go. I saw some crazy shit on Twitter last night. It was like he's got 4 of them now, and that is more than LeBron, like all time, or something to that effect. I don't really know for sure the precedent, but it is clearly an insane postseason run that Hallie is on. 2 that probably won't get enough love anywhere is the incredible showdown we're watching between Rick Carlisle, the Pacers coach, and Mark Daigneault, the Oklahoma City coach. Kind of obvious that Isaiah Hartenstein's minutes were going to be reduced. He finishes with just 17 minutes in the game. There was a lot of buzz around him not even making the starting lineup after having been there most of the postseason in lead up. This is because the Pacers play 5 out pretty much all game. They do have Thomas Bryant, who I guess is a spacing big at this point, but primarily their objective is to space you out and of course lull you to sleep, get you confused with all of their movement. To counteract all of that activity, Daigneault goes ahead and subs in AJ Mitchell to start the second quarter. Just signaled the amount of energy that is required so they don't wear themselves the fuck out by the time the game hangs in the balance late. The alternating Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard minutes defending SGA. We all know that they love extending full court pressure as an extension of the idea of wearing you out. Not only are they always pushing the pace in the open floor on offense, but defensively, they want you to feel, even psychologically, like you are constantly being forced to run and speed up your game and play style, even on offense, as that psychological trigger to get you to shoot early, to make bad passes, to really get you off balance. And as we'll get into, it actually proved to be quite effective in this game. Number 1, turnovers don't equal winning. There is just so much buzz, honestly, rightfully so, around the number and volume of turnovers. The actual metric on the back end that probably gets about a fifth of the amount of coverage is points generated off of turnovers. It's a legitimate stat that is literally tracked throughout these games. If you're not scoring off of these steals and turnovers, it doesn't really benefit you. A 24-6 edge in turnovers and a 14-1 edge in steals. They only close +7 in points off of turnovers, and a big reason why is Indiana's contingency planning. Another nod to Carlisle and how ready and executed on getting back in transition defense even when those steals occurred. I know jdub post-game was pointing out, yeah, you know, sometimes steals are taking place in different parts of the floor. The defense is actually back, but a lot of this just comes down to want and commitment to your game plan. And obviously, if you're playing the Thunder, you know turnovers are a huge source of their offense. Not to mention, you are affording yourself just more possessions to have a chance at scoring yourself. But even 14 out of 24 being from steals, obviously those are live ball. It goes to show that the Thunder were able to get their hands on balls, but just not able to capitalize. Thinking of the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other as the same person, analytically, they are two of the best in transition defensive rating. Everybody running back, not committing fouls, understanding how to get into driving lanes and drawing those turnovers. Aaron Nesmith had a great one. High level, SGA was fucking wiped by the end of this game, and I thought that everybody, regardless of your familiarity with basketball or the NBA, could tell. And I think there are a few reasons why. Number one is he took 30 fucking shot attempts and 18 of them came in the first half. If you're unfamiliar, about 20 to 25 is when you're in about Kobe Bryant territory of I am the offense and I'm gonna chuck up really tough shots. I have to check, but I actually am unsure that anybody else has broken that threshold this postseason. Even Jokic, even Brunson. 12 in the first quarter, clearly trying to establish himself in the game, get the whistle established as well, get the defense really bent in and out of shape towards him. Makes sense in a nutshell, but he wasn't really passing. Then you fast forward to the fourth quarter leading up to this insane comeback. He only took 4 shots in the fourth quarter. Wild. Siakam comes up huge on a breakaway block at the cup that SGA just seemed to take to the face. Loses track of Siakam on the very next play in boxing him out from getting the offensive rebound. Siakam really does a great job of tracking down these air balls. I think 2 insanely critical ones. Then with the game hanging in the balance, SGA, after getting blocked, defers straight away to Jalen Williams, stands around the perimeter as if saying, I'm too fucking tired. I need you to go ahead and get this basket. If you know anything about Shea from this season, this guy puts a lot of pressure on himself, and rightfully so, looking at the offensive firepower on this team to come through in clutch moments. To have him defer in that way, coming off of getting stuffed and then getting blown past for a critical offensive rebound, I thought was extremely telling of his energy levels. Nesmith and Drew exhibiting full court pressure all game. As soon as they inbound the ball, all fucking game. So a lot of parity when it comes to depth, and that is what you get when you are able to toggle between those two starters. And then you go to the bench and you see Ben Shepherd, Ben Mathurin also able to exhibit that pressure, which over the course of 40 minutes, which is how many Shea played, they are really going to wear on you. And that's why you end up seeing Dub and even Caruso bringing the ball up the court, literally just to save Shea the energy of having to do it. The other thing that I really think gets overlooked, Andrew Nembhard, Shai Gilgeous, they are both huge Canadian basketball figures. They played alongside of each other in the Olympics last summer. Him and Nembhard have literally played against each other and with each other since they were 9 years old. To be defended like the way that Nembhard was all game, and knowing that he is so familiar with your game after having played together since being literal children, has got to wear on you. And it reached a boiling point in that fourth quarter when very uncharacteristically Shai Gilgeous shoves Andrew Nembhard after Nembhard gets called for a reach, goes to the line, and Shai is about as cool and calm as they come. As much as people talk about the free throw merchant stuff and whatever, he really never reaches a boiling point or even appears to be too exasperated. Another component of that psychological fatigue factor, thinking in a vacuum about Drew guarding SGA and SGA is gonna roast him, and obviously the MVP is way too fucking good. Like, sure, okay. Did you also know that this guy has been defending him since he was 9? I think that deserved a ton of more consideration and integration into broader discourse, and we saw it get under Shai's skin almost in the only way that family can, and that's why it felt so out of character. Really doesn't lose his cool like that ever. And I don't think that it was just SGA either. The Indiana Pacers closed the final 5.5 minutes on a 15-8 run. Those 8 points were all scored by SGA, who again shot 18 times in the first half alone, and half of those 8 points were through free throws, which involves obviously contact and falling on the ground. They didn't have great offensive execution whatsoever. Shai is basically leaning on his foul drawing abilities in order to generate some kind of offense, and per Dub even post game, the Thunder really played to protect their lead, not extended. A huge lack of aggression, and honestly, when you're this fucking historic defensively, can kind of understand it more than virtually any other situation, but that doesn't take into account their opponent. Zombie Nation, they scored 12 points in the final 2.5 minutes. Huge three after huge three after huge shot after huge offensive rebound after huge free throws after huge lane violations and then more free throws. Basically the epitome of sticking with it and being relentlessly committed to your identity. I don't really know how you can come away now with this fourth go-ahead shot by Hallie and coming back, and now it's against the clear best team in the NBA. How this Indiana Pacers team is not the most inspiring one of the playoffs. They are mounting unbelievable comebacks at the highest levels of play and exhibiting all of the things that I feel like you metaphorically, existentially, philosophically look at sports for. All of that commitment to their identity, a relentless confidence and belief in that identity, ultimately delivering despite leads, trailing, whatever. And then of course the unselfishness. This is the first time since 2013 that an NBA Finals team won a game without a single player scoring more than 20 points. Did, however, have 6 players in double figures. Perfect and enormous encapsulation of this Pacer identity. Yes, Halliburton can hit the final shot, but that wasn't to cap off a 38-point night like Shai Gilgeous, for example, when he had a great look to close the game. This is a team of a lot of 1, talented offensive players, but 2 very unselfish ones that are more than willing to share the ball and win these tight games or comeback games as a team. There is no hero ball here. And naturally, you're going to hear a lot from the players and media around trust being such a big bedrock, which I don't think was better exemplified in the game than Rick Carlisle exhibiting so much trust in Obi Toppin and Andrew Nembhard. Obi Toppin, it's important to note, first of all, that his physical profile offers a ton of the advantages that I think most people were talking about with Siakam looking at Oklahoma City's defensive profile. They're all very, very good, but of course they are a little bit more on the undersized end of the spectrum. Obi Toppin is huge, very athletic, very strong, and I completely can understand why he would be potential X factor, but just very big sort of point of emphasis. This is going to be a huge opportunity for you. Comes into that first shift of the game. I think he has 3 turnovers in his first, 5-6 minute stint. Comes into the second quarter, hits his second 3, and essentially turns the entire tide around as if Rick Carlisle whispered some magical spell. Settled into the game, confident in his shot making, even confident in his playmaking on that incredible drive and dish to TJ McConnell right under the basket. A lot of confidence coming off of, again, such a shaky start. Andrew Nembhard being that point guard down the stretch, primarily because Lou Dort, all NBA, one of, if not the best perimeter defender in the entire NBA, on Halliburton, rather than asking Halliburton to wear himself to the bone and probably shoot up a bunch of bad shots. Clearly, Carlisle was like, well, it's a good thing we have 2.5 point guards in our starting unit. And not only that, he was hitting insanely clutch shots in this game. The one play when they were down 6 to cut it to 3, in and out, combo, dribble, step back, in SGA's face to cut the lead in half on the road in SGA's house, SGA's MVP, all of that environment, all of the odds of the series. That to me was the real shot of the game. It was a real bailout thing that OKC is willing to let guys go on islands against their own defenders. And if they're going to hit 25-foot step back threes in their faces, you tip your hat, and that's exactly what Drew was able to do. Ben Mathurin as well, I thought was interesting. Even more terrible of a first shift. The level of physicality took him a little bit of time to acclimate to, but in his second shift, not only was he doing a great job generating free throws, which is such an enormous component of the Pacers offense that they were lacking last year when he was hurt for the whole playoffs, came up with an enormous block on jdub later in the game that was absolutely disrespectful and unbelievably effective at sucking the oxygen out of Paycom, because those are the types of defensive plays and miraculous ones that OKC has built its brand on. Pacers, pace, people talk about their pace all the time. I think it's just important to pump the brakes and point out pace isn't just about transition and throwing the ball ahead off of inbounds, off of makes or misses or turnovers, and just physically getting yourself down the floor as fast as possible. The majority of the pace that the Pacers are playing with is really just the pace of decision making. Reminds me of that classic, 0.5 seconds decide, am I shooting, am I passing, am I driving? That's all the amount of time that you have. Basically what all of the Pacers do when, driving lanes are clogged, maybe they're not going anywhere, and the fact that them, but most importantly their teammates, are also aware of the rate and pace of their decision making, they're able to just really quickly give themselves as an outlet to any guy that is stuck, and it just creates this constant sense of pressure even in the off-ball defenders, because the time it takes for their guy to become a real viable threat, even if the ball is on the other side of the floor, is very, very small. It wouldn't be as effective if they weren't so hive-minded. One play in particular that really stood out, it came with 9 minutes and 14 seconds left in the second quarter. The Pacers had their second unit guys in, bringing the ball up the court. TJ McConnell has it at the top of the key. He's looking around to sort of swing the ball and get this whole engine moving, and every single Pacers guy not named TJ McConnell is pointing at the mismatch between Pascal Siakam and Wiggins on the weak side. Exemplified to me how fucking observant and constantly surveying this Pacers offense is when it comes to identifying any sorts of advantages. It's not like Shai Gilgeous or Jalen Brunson having to really create and make all of these plays. It is a team of 5 guys on a floor, all capable, willing, and committed to identifying and signaling offensive advantages to each other. And it just felt to me like, fuck, this whole team is basically a bunch of point guards. And that is such an incredible, incredible way to penetrate a historic defense. We all know OKC's outer perimeter shell is literally designed by Sam Presti to beat Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson, any heliocentric model, because they can sit in the gaps. They're all quick enough to put a foot in the paint on drives, but then also close out really fast because they're all really fast. They thrive in that slower half-court offense. This is completely different, and I really, really thought that that very small moment was a great exemplifier of that. Lastly, the next game stuff. Number one, what we'll see is Oklahoma City is going to make it a point of emphasis to get the others going earlier, in rhythm earlier. It was great to see Shai take 12 shots in that first quarter, but I do think Daigneault and his staff are going to realize that kind of pace-setting tactic, kind of like in an Olympic trial or marathon or something, where somebody is like out there running for like 2 laps at an insane speed, and then they say, fuck this. Probably not a great idea against the way that the Pacers are, 1, defending, but 2, offending against your team. Clear as day that Shea was fucking beat by the end of this game. Halliburton is similarly going to be a lot more aggressive out of the gate. Finishes the first quarter with just 3 field goal attempts, obviously during the regular season and last year too. Has not fared great against Lou Dort. Not very unique, but this is what people mean about settling into a series, settling into an opponent. They obviously were able to leverage Nembhard and other guys to bring the ball up, initiate offense, other than Halliburton, basically playing 4-on-4. Now that he has seen some of the switching schemes and all of that, establishing himself early is only going to invite more and more help on his drives, pitches, swings, etc. And obviously that is a huge way to open up shots for others. The Indiana Pacers are shooting a scorching 40% or so from 3 in the playoffs this postseason, although on volume it isn't the most in the playoffs, but they do not miss a lot of threes, and in particular the corner threes, which OKC has made clear they're more than willing to give up at the cost of better protection at the rim. We saw Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, Aaron Nesmith, even Thomas Bryant hitting corner threes that you basically have to if you want to stand a chance at beating the Thunder. So those sorts of looks, I'm sure Halliburton is going to prioritize in the best way to get those guys open, getting and establishing himself in the psyche of the defense. Unbelievable start to the series. I have to go to work, but I am so fucking grateful that we are getting this showdown both at the coach and player and team levels. It is an incredible matchup packed in with subplots. Market size be damned if you fuck with basketball as just a sport and a team one at that. This is about as good as we could have gotten this year. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.